Hi everyone, good afternoon. Last class, we have been talking about triggers. We have seen that trigger are nothing but these are the apex code that gets executed before or after the specific DML statement or DML events that occurs, right? And also we have seen different, like what are the DML events supported, insert and update, delete, undelete. Like we have a before insert, before insert, before update, after update, before delete, after undelete. There is no before undelete. And we have seen how to go ahead and play with the triggers, right? And we have seen what is the structure of the trigger. We have seen how to use the trigger context variables. Then we went ahead and we written a program to send an email as soon as the contact is created, right? And how will I understand the contact was created or updated? We need somebody to tell us whether the contact is inserted or updated. Then I'll come to know that, okay, on the update, what should I do? And on the insert, what should I do? Right? Then only trigger will know. So that somebody is trigger context. So the trigger context variables are variables which gives you the data, right? We do not give the data to the trigger context variable. We never assign a data to the trigger context variable. We just get the data from trigger context variable. Now, what are the trigger context variable? Yesterday we have seen only isInsert and isUpdate, right? So let's go ahead today understand more on to the trigger context variables. Trigger context variable, right? What is a trigger context variable? Variable or system defined variable. System defined variable or system defined variable that gives the value, to the developer. During a trigger runtime process. Is called trigger context. What is the trigger context? That is a variable or it is a system defined variable that gives us the value to the developer during the during a trigger runtime process. Now, what are the trigger context variable? Let's go ahead and understand. The first one is, what are the trigger context variable? The first one is executing. Is executing. What it does is executing, it will return Boolean. It return the Boolean value. That means whether it is a true or false. Returns the Boolean value if a trigger is running or not. And the next one is, we have another trigger context variable is isInsert. isInsert. isInsert is Boolean returns true if trigger was fired due to insertion, right? So due to insertion, so with this I will come to know whether it is inserted happened or not. Is insert. If the insert is happened, then from the is insert I will come to know the value. That means it will be true. And the next one is update. Next trigger context variable is update. Is update. It's a Boolean, returns true if an update action occurred. Update action occurred, or if there is any update happened on the record. Is update is, it returns Boolean value true if there is any update action occurred, right? And the next one is, next trigger context variable is delete. Is delete. It returns Boolean value. It returns true if delete action occurred. If there is any delete action occurred, then is delete context variable is going to return true. Next, another context variable is isUndelete. isUndelete. It's a Boolean, returns true if data was restored from recycle bin. If there is any data restored from the recycle bin, then isUndelete is going to tell us true. Next trigger context variable is isBefore. isBefore. It's a Boolean value. It's a Boolean, returns true before saving the data. Before saving the data to the database. Right. So for example, user has clicked on the save button up. He created the new record. He entered all the information and he clicked on the save button. As soon as click on the save button, before the data gets saved into the database, the isBefore is going to call, and this will give us true value. And next context variable is isAfter. isAfter. It's a Boolean, returns true if the trigger fired after the data is saved into the database. After the data is saved into the database, then isAfter is going to give us the value true. Next context variable is new. Next trigger context variable is new. It returns a list of list of new version of S object records. It returns a list of new version of S object records. Next context variable is newMap. It returns map of ID comma S object. It returns map of ID comma S object data of all the new records created, for all the new records that are created. Next trigger context variable is old. Returns a list of old version of the S object records. Old is going to give us the list of old version of S object records. And next context variable is oldMap. oldMap returns map of ID comma S object ID comma S object data of all the old version of S object records. And the last one trigger context variable is size. Size returns number of the data. Number means integer. Number of data that are participating in the trigger. So out of these, we have 12 trigger context variables. Out of this, the most important one is newMap, oldMap. These are the one which we usually in real time we use isInsert, isUpdate, isDelete. That should be fine. But very important topic in the trigger context variable is to understand newMap and oldMap. Now let's take one user story to do this for any of this. Okay, assume that we have a library. We have a library object. And every book that we sell from library, we give 10% discount automatically. That means from the library, if I'm selling any book, I'm selling any book from the library, automatically the 10% discount should apply on top of the price. Like if price says 100, but as soon as I create it, it should automatically apply the 10% discount and show me the actual value of the price is 90. Right? So 10% is which is 0.9. 10% is which is 0.9. So basically at the end, the price should come in the 90. So this is what the requirement. Now, how will you do that? Like you might say that, okay, I want as soon as you create a new book, a 10% discount has to give. Can I do it formula? We have a formula fields in the object. Can I do it with the formula? Can I do it with the formula field? Yes, but you have to create a separate field. Why? Because if you want to override the same field, you cannot use the formula field. Today they are saying 10%, right? Tomorrow they might wanted to override that field with some another number. So right now it is a 90 and they wanted to override that. Because formula does not tell you to enter the data in field. It is like read only. As soon as I create a formula field, it will not allow me to edit it. As soon as I create the formula field, it's simply read only. Whether it is a system admin or different profile, what are the profiles, by default it will go in the read only. And I cannot override the formula field. Formula field automatically system is going to calculate it based on the condition or the logic that we write in the formula field. Now, if I wanted to enter the data in the field, and when I save, the same data has to be overwritten. So different scenarios may come up here. So that's the reason formula field, keep it right now away. So let's go ahead and implement this logic in the org. So for that, I need to create new object called library. Let me go ahead and create a new object. Okay, library. So plural label name is also, let's leave it as a library. And record name, let's give it as a book name. And the data type is text. And I wanted to launch new custom tab after saving the custom object. Like as soon as I save it, I wanted to see that. And the next one, it is going to ask me to select the icon or style. So we can choose any one. So let's take laptop. Next, default on for everybody. Now save. Now object got created. In another one, I need a new field, which is currency, because I'm going to enter the price. So let's create a new field, currency, and then field name is, let's put it as a price. Should be fine. Next. Okay, visible to everybody. And this is the layout that I'm going to add it. Perfect. Now the library object is created. I can see, let me refresh here. Right. So this is the library object. So we do not have any values right now because this is newly created. Now let me go ahead and create a one library. So book name is, let's give it as a Harry Potter 1, and the price is the $500. Now as soon as I click on save, as soon as I click on a save button, what it should happen? On the click of save, it should have to apply the 10% discount on the 500. And as soon as I click on save, it should show me the, it should not show me the 500 because that is actual price. That means it did not apply the 10% discount. As soon as I save the record, it should apply the 10% on 500 and show me that. So it should be 450, right? 500 into 0.9, it should be 450. So in those scenarios, let me go ahead and implement the trigger. Developer console. Now that is a business case. Okay. Now let's close this. File new Apex trigger. ER underscore 0607 update price, right? On which S object we are doing it? We are doing it on the library. Library object submit, right? Now the trigger name on the library by default it is giving me before insert. But tell me, let me go to the library, new, right? Let's give it as another name here. Book name is Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Okay, let's give the price 100. Now, as soon as I click on a save button here, so as soon as I click on a save button, it has to pass this latest information to the trigger. Now tell me which event should I need to use? Whether should I need to use the before insert or should I need to use the after insert? Which one should I need to go with that? On creation of the record, I wanted to apply the discount. So which one should I need to go ahead? Before or after? Which one do I have to do? Before or after? Before, yes. Why before? Because, so this is my Salesforce database, okay? This is my Salesforce database. SF database. So SF database. Right. So this is the SF database. Now what I'm doing it on the Salesforce. On the Salesforce, I'm creating a record. I'm creating a record which says that Harry Potter 1. Harry Potter 1. And the price is 500. We get the 500. Now, as soon as the record is created, like as soon as I click on a save, instead of going directly to the trigger, assume that it is going directly to the database. It is going to the database. Once it is inserted, everything updated in the database. Now this is the trigger. This is the trigger. Now, first thing is that user has entered the book name and the price, or agent is entered the book name and price. And as soon as click on the save button, it is directly into the SFDC database. Now in the trigger, once it is saved into the database, what I have to do? I have to fetch that data. I have to fetch that data using the SOQL, S4QL. Now then I have to calculate the discount. I have to calculate the discount. Now after calculating the discount, what will happen? Again, I have to push back to the database. Now, if I use the after insert, now how many database connections we are doing it here? 3 database connections we are doing it. If I go with the after insert, one is to save into the database. Second one to say to fetch the data from the database. Again, once it is calculated is done, then I'm pushing back to the SFTC database. This entire thing, whatever we did it, right? Whatever we did this entire thing will be after. So if you go with the after insert, what will happen? You are wasting the database connections. You are wasting the database connection because your entire logic is you wanted to apply the percentage. When you want to apply the percentage, why are we waiting till it goes to the database? Do not wait for till it goes to the database because you are ultimately wasting the database connection. Instead of that, directly get it from here. Directly get it from here. And then once the calculation is done, then push back to the database. Because anyway, the one which is you are storing into the database, that is not the correct one, right? So instead of wasting these all things, better you call it from the record itself. Get the information from the record. Get the information from the record, right? Once you got the information, calculate it and then send it to the SFTC database, which is a easier one. You need not to waste the SOQL query again here and those all things. Again, pushing into the database, multiple times calling the database, you need not to waste it. So the easiest one is, ultimately I wanted to, when the record is saved, it has to apply with the discount and show the final price. Then call the data from the record and do the calculation and push it to the SFTC database. So that's the reason we have to go with the before insert. Right, so that is the before insert. So let's go ahead and let's see the before insert. Okay, this is the before insert. By default, it will come as a before insert. Now, list of what I'm doing, I'm calling the library underscore C. So let's say library equal to. Now, how do I get the new record? How do I get the record in the library? Now, who is going to pass the latest information to the trigger? Who is going to pass the latest information to the trigger? Because the data is not yet saved into the database. I cannot query right now. Who is going to pass the data to the trigger? We have something called trigger.new. What is the trigger.new? Which is a new trigger context variable, returns a list of new version of isObject record. New version of isObject record. So trigger.new is going to give us the latest information directly from the record. Now what I'm doing, I'm just calculating the logic is, let me look through this for what is the object, library is the object, library underscore C. Let's see, ebook colon, I have a library. Now inside this, what is the data that I wanted to update? eb.price. eb.price equal star equal to 0.9. What is this? Basically, you have the X value and you are multiplying the y value and it is stored into the x. So this is overall, right? So this is what my logic is. Now let me go ahead and see. Let me refresh. Library, new. So let's give rich dad and poor dad. Okay, price is 100. Now as soon as I save this, it should apply the percentage, right? Discount, it should apply. Let's go ahead and save. Let's see that. What is the value I got it? 90. Because on saving, my logic got executed. On saving, my logic got executed. But here, observe one thing. We are not writing anything DML here. Once we set the value, update, EB, update, library, I'm not writing anything DML here. Database.update, I'm not doing anything. So that means trigger is going to take care of that in the before insert. In the before insert, I can set whatever the values I want. Now I need not to write the update logic, DML updation, I need not to write it in the before insert because before insert trigger is automatically take care of the assignment. Now another logic, assume that like whenever we are writing the trigger, this is the one tip. Whenever you are writing the trigger, never ever think you are building the one record. Do not write the logic to work on one record. If you are implementing the trigger, trigger has to support multiple records, whether it could be a 10,000, 1,000, 2,000, whatever the records are there. You have to write a logic to work more than one record. So do not write the trigger in perspective of one record, like as soon as I click on save, so this record has to be updated. No, if you are written the trigger, if you wanted to test the trigger, do it with the data loader. That is the best testing that you can do. So if you have a creation, do it with the data loader on the insert. If you have a update logic, do it with the data loader, or multiple records you push it at a time. Just writing the some code in the anonymous window. So that way you can test your trigger for the multiple records. Right. So yesterday we said that trigger is logicless. Right. So let's take out this cut. Let me create a new Apex class. CL underscore 0607 underscore update price helper. Now here I'm going to write the logic. Now inside this I have to create a method. The method has to be static, void, and let's say that apply discount. Apply discount. Now this is the logic. This is the logic. But what I need the library data. So I need the library data. Let's take out this. From the Apex trigger, I can directly call method and then I can pass trigger.new. I can pass trigger.new. I can pass the trigger.new. Perfect. Let's save this. Now let's go ahead and create it. Now let's go ahead and create one more record. Let's see that whether it is applying or not. Okay, new library, book name, Harry Potter 2. Let's give 500. Save. So what is the value it should come? 450. Because it is applied the discount. Clear so far? Is it clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I have to explain more in depth, okay, if I have to explain more in depth, this is SFTC, SF database. Okay. So the creation of record can come from different sources. Creation of record. The library record user can create it from the form, can be created from the Visual Force page, can be created from the Lightning component, can be created from the data loader, can be created from the API. So all different places the data can be created from anybody. So source will be multiple. In the source, whenever the user enter the book name, let's assume that My Life is the book name and the price is $1,000. And when user click on your save button, like as soon as click on your save button, what happens? The traveling starts towards the database. The traveling starts toward the database, right? When traveling is started toward the database, what happened in between? When it is traveled toward the database, in between, we are stopping the travel. We are stopping it, saying that stop it here. That means it is going to disconnect the traveling to the database. It is going to disconnect it. It's supposed to go to the database, but as we kept the red point here saying that stop, do not go directly to the database. Why? Because when you are traveling it, in between we have something called trigger, right? Inside that we have something called Apex class. This is trigger, and trigger is calling the Apex class. And inside the Apex class, we have a business logic. We have a business logic, right? So before you go to the database, you have to first go to the trigger. From the trigger, go to the Apex class. From the Apex class, go to the business logic, right? If everything is perfectly fine, the logic is validated and it is good to go, then it will release the data to the here. It will release the data to the saying that, okay, you got a green signal to go to the database. You got a green signal to go to the database. So what happened here for in this scenario, what are the case study we are doing it? When it is traveling, it was holding. When it is traveling, it was holding the data. My life is the book name, and the price it was holding 1000. Right now, when it came to trigger, in the trigger we are calculating the discount, and the once the discount is done, it is pushed to the here. So that means as soon as it reached, it's saying that my life is the book name and 1000 into whatever the thing is there, 900. So it will go to the 900 because 10% discount is applied on it. So when it reached to this point, my price got updated. That means it updated it applied the discount and it changed the value to 900. Now in the database, what will happen? It will go save the data as my life and the value will be 900. And SF database doesn't care what was the value before when the user entered and what is coming. This doesn't care anything. SFDC database does not have a trace what was entered in the record and what it came to the database. This does not trace it or this does not care. So only thing it is care is whatever is coming to the database, go ahead and save it. That's it. Right? So this is called trigger before insert. This is called trigger before insert. It doesn't matter from where, whatever the source it comes from the data. Whether it is coming from the API, whether it is coming from Aura, LWC, data loader, VF page, doesn't care. Whatever the data is, anywhere it comes to this object. Which object? The library object. Whatever the data comes to the library object on the creation of the record, it has to first cross this trigger and then only it is going to save the record. In case if some logic is missed, if some logic is, let's assume that here discount is not there. More discount, there is some other logic. Validating the price. If it is a less than 1500, do not accept. If the price is less than 1500, do not accept. It says that. So it will cross verify the logic. And once it cross verify the logic, it says that now you go back here because it will push back to the record saying that some error, saying that here it will populate saying that there is an error. It will not even go back to this place. From here it goes back to the record saying that there is an error. Clear? So what it is doing, basically trigger.new is gives all the new data which is in the air. That means those are not in database. Either it is in the air or whether it is in the transit or whether it is in the buffer memory or not saved into the database. Right? So trigger.new will give the latest information that is not yet saved into the database. Now let me go ahead and open Excel sheet. Okay, so we have a, what are the things we have? Trigger.new, and next one is trigger.old. We'll understand going further how the old works, but right now let's understand what are the events. Like basically what I'm talking is we have a trigger events, right? Before insert, before, after insert, before update, after update. These are the events. So which are the events that are going to support the trigger context variable. So next one is trigger dot newMap. And trigger dot oldMap. Okay, and here we have a events. What are the events we have? Before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete, after undelete. These are the events. Right? Perfect. Now let's understand this. Which are the events that are going to support it? Now before insert, can I use with a trigger dot new? Yes. Trigger dot old? No. Because trigger dot old is going to give us the data that is already exist. But before insert is which is a completely new record. So trigger dot old does not give us the, like I cannot use the before insert, or with the event before insert, I cannot use the trigger dot old. With the before insert, can I use the trigger dot new map? No, because there is no other, there is just a new record is there, which is a new. And can I use the within the before insert, can I use trigger dot old map? No, because that will not give and that is not supported. After insert, can I use trigger dot new in the after insert? Yes. Can I use trigger dot old within the after insert? Does it give the information? No, because it's right now it is saved. Trigger dot new map. Can I use it in the after insert? Yes, because it's already saved into the database. And on top of it, there is something might have changed it using the process builder or flows. Something data has updated. So definitely I will have the latest information new map. Can I use the trigger dot old map? No, I cannot with the after insert. Now coming to the before update, after update. Before update and after update, all of them are supported. All of them are supported. Before update, after update, I can use the trigger dot new, I can use the trigger dot old, I can use the trigger dot new map, I can use the trigger dot old map. Now coming to the before delete. Before delete, I'm deleting the record. So before deleting the record, will I have the new information? No. Old information, yes, it is there. And how about new map? No, I'll not have that data. Right? Old will be there with the before delete. After delete, same. After delete also, I can use the same thing. I cannot use the trigger dot new in the after delete. I'll have the old information and old map also will be there in the after delete, but I cannot use the new map. And coming to after undelete. After undelete means I am restoring the data from the recycle bin. When I'm restoring the data, it is almost equal to the insert. It is almost equal to the insert, right? So which is almost equal to the after insert. So these are the things whenever you wanted to go with the any logic, and if you want to use the context variable new map old map, think about this. If you are going with the before insert, what are the data that you can get it? And if you are going with the before delete or after delete, after undelete, what are the things that you can get it. So this will give the information. Okay, so whenever we are developing the code. And coming back to the assignment. Coming back to the assignment, first one. Write a trigger to update phone with 999. Okay, so what are the 10 digits are there? Okay, and email no@email.com for all the contact that does not have the phone number. So basically, for example, you are creating a record. Okay, you are creating a contact record. You entered the first name, last name, and you have not entered the phone number and email, just first name, last name, and some address information. You clicked on a save. As soon as you clicked on a save, automatically the phone gets added to the record, phone and email. Let's assume you are creating another record, contact, and entered the first name, last name. Along with that, you have also entered the phone number and email. If the contact has the phone number and email, do not overwrite this phone number. While creating the contact, if the customer or if the user is entering the phone number and email, do not overwrite with this one. Whenever the user create a contact without phone number or without email, then only add this data to the record. That is the first assignment. Second one, whenever a case is created, with, we have a field called origin. Whenever a case is created with the origin equal to email, okay, then set the status as new. Then set the status to, okay, by default it will go to the new, so let's take it as a in progress. And update the priority equal to medium. As soon as the case is created with the origin equal to email, two things which should happen. Status equal to in progress, priority equal to medium. And the next one, third assignment, whenever a lead is created, with lead source is the field as a web, then give rating. We have something a field called rating. Give the rating equal to, that means if the rating is cold, rating equal to cold. Otherwise, if they are creating a lead source with a different value, then update it as a hot. Fine. These are the assignments. And coming to the interview questions. First one, how is the trigger.new different from trigger.newMap? How is the different new and newMap? They might ask you in another way, trigger.old and trigger.oldMap. So they might ask you, how is the trigger.old different from trigger.oldMap? They confuse you a lot here. In the old map, new map. There is a lot of question that can confuse. Okay. The next interview question is, how is trigger dot new different from trigger dot old? So they change anything here. They confuse you a lot in the new map or the old map. So this is for today's class. Anybody has any questions? Today what we learned about the trigger context variable new, trigger.new. Okay. There are a few more sessions on the trigger going further. 4 sessions are still there. So we will understand each one of them, how to use it in detail. Then we get the clarity. Okay. Before I sign off, any questions on this, whatever we spoke so far? Okay, thank you everyone. Let's meet tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I have an issue on batch, Jagadish. Okay. Let's take it in the different call. Let me stop the call.